Good afternoon. So today I want to talk basically about education and how the education system has evolved since the traditional way of learning. Where in African education system, we were taught by our parents, our grandparents, or even let me say about we were told by our elders about our cultures, what our society stood for. So we learned from our parents. That was the informal learning system, where our elders used to tell us what was happening in the past. And by learning what was happening in the past, the people would associate the past and what's happening today. And by learning what was happening in the past, you could predict what could come in the future. So it is always great to learn about the history of oneself so that you can know why what is happening today is happening, and also to help you predict what might happen in the future. So the traditional education system was anchored on the memories of our people. The much they remembered, the better. And how they taught us also meant a lot, because if you do not teach your people well, they will not know what was happening in the past. And if they don't know what was happening in the past, what is happening in the present might overwhelm them, or may give them difficulties, even making them unable to make decisions on what is happening, or even make anything better for the future. So education system evolved from that traditional system to the colonial system. When the colonies or the colonial system came to Africa, to Kenya, mostly because I'm talking about Kenya, they tried to teach Africans as little as they could, because the more you teach people, the better you expose them to ideas, the better you make them learn about things that you know. And education, as the Gen Z always say, education is an equalizer. And if the education equalized the Africans and the whites could not have a place to stay. And maybe they could have been chased even way before 1964, when I'm talking about Kenya. So when the colonialists came to Africa, they needed people for labor. They needed people for menial jobs, the people they could send to take reports, the people who could look after their farms, all the people also, the drivers, and those jobs that the whites could not take. But from the managerial jobs and the big jobs that paid well, the whites could not teach the blacks. However, due to the changes in times and after the independence, when we took control of our country, Kenya, the first president of Kenya, that's our founding fathers, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, when he became the first prime minister and the president of Kenya, he thought a way of Kenyanizing education, or making education more Kenyan, and even trying to embrace education as a way of building the economy of our country. Because as we all know that the more they educated the population, the better. Taking, for example, when you look at the developed countries and you look at their education, the percentage of their literacy levels, you find that a place like the US, you find the literacy level is way above 78 or even 90. When you go to China, you find the literacy levels are above there. You go to China, to Japan, you go to the UK, the education levels or the literacy levels are very high. When you come to Africa, although we are trying to catch up, but our literacy levels are not so high. That's one of the contributing factors to the Africanism, or even our drilling, or even our that's maybe the main cause of our sluggishness. So for us to improve on our economy, to improve on our living standards, to improve on our lives, we'll have to improve on education, because once the population is educated, it is easier for them to make decisions. It's also easier for them to come up with new ideas, innovations, and inventions that can help eradicate poverty in the society. Going back to independence and the Kenyanization of education, when Jomo Kenyatta became the president, he formed a commission that was led by Simeon Omide, the Omide Commission, that looked into the system from the colonial system to a Kenyan system. So our first education system was formed in 1964, which tried to bring the knowledge, or to help us learn about our geographical. Our geography is Kenya, to learn about what the Central Kenya stands for, what the Nyanza stands for, what Eastern region stands for, and the Rift Valley. And the more we learn about what Kenya is and what each region stands for, the better we could understand the resources that we had. We could know that the Central was the most favorable climate for producing cash crops, going from the tea to coffee. So when you go to Rift Valley, also they established a system where it was good for producing the maize and such things. When you go to Western, they are called the basket of Kenya, because they could feed the country and other regions. So as much as we Kenyanized our education system, and we made the system to be more of Kenya than just training few people to cater for the masters or for the whites. Everyone in Kenya, or most of the people in Kenya, the population of educated people in Kenya improved from around 30% to around 90% because of affirmative action that was taken to improve the population of the blacks in the schools. They also tried to supplement education, whereby the much people paid to get education, all the favors that people had to pull for them to get education, they were eradicated. So education was easy to find. And as you know, people are always seeking for new knowledge. They always try to understand what is happening. They always trying to understand what could happen if they gain more knowledge. So people ran and took the opportunities and learned more about everything. So that's how our population became more educated as we approached the Moi era. So after Moi took the office, and in 1981, there were jitters that the first education system, was started with 7 years of primary schools. It went to 4 years of lower secondary school, to 2 years of upper secondary school, and 3 years of tertiary education. That system created a lot of people who are educated but could not find employment, could not find job opportunities. So due to the jitters and the complaints from the people who are educated and did not have employment opportunities, Moi created a commission that was led by McKay, and in 1981 they came up with the 844 system. 844 system was introduced just to create the people who had who could understand the numbers, that is, learned about numeracy, the people who are literate in languages, the people who are also had technical know-hows. They also introduced sciences, and also they introduced the technical subject like agriculture, home science. So education, the 844 system came up with a lot of improvements. So in 1985, the 844 system took over after the 7423, and we understand that 844 system has taken 3 decades, and in those 3 decades it has also created a lot of people, whereby back in when we came into the 21st centuries, many people were educated in the 844 system, and many could not find employment. So when people are complaining and always saying that the education is not catering for their needs, or is not serving what they are looking for, and the governments are always looking for ways to improve the education system. We also understand the 21st century has come with technological advancements, whereby if the education system is not revolutionary enough, it will not cater for the changes that happen almost in every second. We hear about a new technology has come, another technology has come. So if we do not find a way of breaching that gap, you find that you have a lot of people educated in a certain, who have education but do not have the technical know-how, or do not have the trends, or cannot even catch up with the trends that are happening around the globe. So by looking around what the world, or the global trends, in 2017 our government came up when Uhuru came into the presidency. He listened to the people, and he looked back at what people have been saying. So as he was looking back, he found the Coach report of 1999, and the Coach report was recommending for an education system whereby, as much as people are learning how to write, how to read, they are learning history, they are learning languages, English and Kiswahili, they are learning numbers, people should have to find parts where they could follow. You find that there are people who know more about social sciences. Those people should specialize in social sciences. There are people who are very good in arts. So the people can play football internationally. There are people who can play music. Even the whites are going to listen, or the whole world is going to listen. So in the CBC was a system that was created to cater for these people, the people who are good in certain fields, so that they are not fed on the 844 system, whereby you are just fed on books, and after you learn, after you finish your tertiary education, that is the university, you come and now start looking for jobs in the offices. You find that you are going to burden government with a lot of issues. You're going to be asking government to give you employment, and since the government cannot create employment beyond what they are offering, they will try to do as many things as possible just to cater for that population that is asking for employment. So the CBC was introduced, although it had a lot of glitches. People have complained for long. They are saying that even they do not understand it. People have also tried to understand the CBC since 2017 to 2022, when President Ruto was taking over the office. He came and he formed a commission that looked into the CBC. It made recommendations. However, what I could say is that CBC is a good system, because the world is always evolving and many things are changing every day. And with the CBC, our children are going to learn the new trends, are going to learn new technologies, are going even to specialize early in their lives, so that even as they mature, they will not have trouble of looking for jobs everywhere. They can create their own jobs. We love people who are good in electrical engineering. Those people who try as much as they can just to make employment around their jobs. You will have people who can play music very well. So those people will have to employ many other people in their teams, and maybe it cannot solve the employment 100%, but at least our population will not be in trouble of looking for who is going to employ them. Going back to 844 system, during the 844 system, and in each system, I don't think there is a system that comes smoothly, that is embraced by the people, because people people embrace what has been there, or what they have been used to, So since the introduction of 844 system in 1985, there were a lot of jitters, a lot of complaints, and there were other reports that were written in between 1985 and 21st, that is 2000, and some recommended for introduction of technical skills in the schools, whereby that's when we started to introduce the technical school, the TVETs, where people are going to learn about maybe wiring, others are going to learn about plumbing, others are going to learn about just doing the menial job they're doing, making furniture. Others are going to learn about tailoring. That's why when you look back in the early 2000s, we had a lot of tailors. We had people who could do very well in plumbing, the carpentry. Those skills were learned through TVET, and I know at this moment we are praising, or we are asking the government